welcome back to the show. Well, my next guest came to our attention over 10 years ago as part of the reality pop act Hearsay, but these days she's better known as Keith Duffy's latest flame in Coronation Street. She's had a roller coaster a few years, and I'm delighted she's here to share her story with us. A really warm welcome to Kym Marsh. You're very welcome. So your mum there as well?
Oh, yes.
First of all, welcome to Ireland.
Thank you.
Because, of course, you go out with one of us, Keith Duffy.
I do. I rang him, actually, to say I was doing the show tonight, so you better be watching.
And, of course, you're the barmaid, Michelle.
Yeah.
And he's your partner, but you've gone on a cruise.
Yeah, we're away on a cruise, apparently, at the moment. He's being a chef on a cruise, and I'm singing, apparently.
And are you madly in love with this guy, Kieran McCarthy?
Yeah, she is. She's very much in love with him, very much in love with him. Well, I mean, how could she not be?
Yeah, there's the two of you. They're actually in the bar.
There's many women wouldn't be in love with Keith, to
Of course,
be fair.
the truth is, you're on a cruise because you just had a baby.
Yeah, that's
in real life.
Yeah, that's right.
Called Polly?
Polly, yeah, my Polly.
And how old is she now?
She's 4.5 months now. It's gone really quickly.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we have a little picture. There you are, a lovely
Happy.
picture of you and Polly.
Oh, she's so cute.
Is she good? Is she sleeping?
No.
They never do.
No. Well, she was premature. She was 7 weeks early. She was just over 4 pounds when she was born. And she has very severe reflux as a result of that. But that's the only problem that she has. And if that's all I have to worry about, then I can...
And she'll grow out of that, actually,
she
quite
will,
young,
yeah, she will. So.
I love the story. Jamie's your boyfriend, right, who's the guy from Hollyoaks. But tell about the Burger King stop on the way to giving birth.
It was McDonald's, actually.
Was it McDonald's?
Yeah. Well, you know, we were expecting Polly to come very early because I was monitored quite a lot, and they were adamant it was going to come. The baby was going to come very early, and we thought it might be another false alarm. But I was really having a lot of pains, and I was really having contractions. And Jamie had been working all day, and we're going to the hospital. And he went, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've got to stop at McDonald's." And we kind of get into McDonald's drive-through, and I'm going, "Are you kidding? Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, and he asked for a fillet of fish. How many fillet of fishes are ready when you ask for them? They're never ready. I said, if we have to wait, I will kill you. And that was that. So we didn't. It was
you didn't have to wait.
It was fine. Hence he lived.
But I suppose on a serious note, the reason you were monitored is because you had something very sad happen to you with your last little baby, Archie.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing that story?
No, I mean, I wrote about that in my book, and I did, you know, when I wrote the autobiography, obviously Archie was a huge part of my life, and when I went through what I went through, you kind of feel like you're alone, and the only thing that kind of got me through was talking to other women who had gone through a similar thing, and I thought, well, if I share my story, then maybe it might help somebody else. And I've had 2 beautiful children before, David and Emily. David's 16 now, and Emily's nearly 14. And there was no reason for me to believe that anything bad was going to happen. And at 21.5 weeks, I just went into spontaneous labour. And at the time, I didn't realise what it was. When we got to the hospital, I was told that he was coming, and that was it. There was no hope for him. And actually, what we went through was absolutely devastating. Was complete devastation. And because of that, I then, the second time around, having my little girl, was monitored incredibly closely. So.
Because the amazing thing about that little boy Archie is, for instance, we had a story today, it was in a Cork hospital, I think, where again the same problem, which a lot of women go through, where the baby wants to come too quickly. And they have this thing that's like a robotic stitch, but they did almost think at one stage they could save Archie, or they tried to, didn't they?
They did, but actually, knowing what I know now, I now know that it was too late for Archie, even at that point, because I was already in labour. And what they tried to do was they tried to stop that from happening by putting in a stitch into the neck of the womb. But I was already dilated, and so at that point it's kind of too late. I know that now because infection can get in quite quickly, which is actually what happened. And as a result, my waters broke 24 hours later, and unfortunately we lost him. And so, yes, I mean, those stitches can be amazing. And I actually ended up having one with Polly at 17 weeks, but that was because they detected a problem early on. had they not detected that, I would have lost Polly in exactly the same way.
The interesting thing, though, is reading your story in your book is the way that Jamie reacted so differently, and in one way you didn't understand. I suppose it's kind of men tend to deal with these different, don't they?
I think, you know, I mean, obviously men are completely different to women. You know, I don't think we ever understand each other, do we? I think, you know, there's always that kind of those differences, and I think particularly where something like grief is concerned, and Jamie very much dealt with Archie's death in a very different way to me. He didn't want to talk about it at all. He wanted to forget, and all I wanted to do was talk about it. And I think that ultimately is what happened. We just kind of grew apart, and it ultimately split us up for a little while.
Your mum, though, who's here tonight, Pauline, in the audience,
Yeah.
she was great because she too had lost a baby, hadn't she?
She did, yeah. My mum lost a baby at a similar time to me, in a different way. My mum's baby had died in the womb, and they didn't know. And at that time, you know, they didn't do scans and things like that, so they weren't aware. And everyone would come round and say to her, "Are you sure you're pregnant? Because you're losing weight and you don't look very well." And what had actually happened was she'd lost the baby and she didn't know, but she still had to give birth to her baby in the same way I had to give birth to Archie. And I think that was a thing when we did lose him, was that everyone said, "Oh, Kym had a miscarriage, Kym had a miscarriage." And a miscarriage always makes people think, "Oh, she just
Absolutely
had a miscarriage," and, you know, it's sad, but she had a miscarriage. When I actually had to give birth to my little boy, and he was a human being, and we had a funeral, and we, you know, and I mourned for that little boy. And so to say miscarriage really winds me up.
No, it's a total misnomer for so many women and men. But you put his ashes beside your bed, and you still keep them.
I've got him there, yeah. Well, I think we had a discussion about that, Jamie and I, and we put his ashes in this little, we have a little pot with an angel on, and we have an inscription on, and Jamie said, "You know, are we going to scatter his ashes?" And I said, "Well, no, because unfortunately we never got to know who he was or what sort of little boy he would have been, so all I know is he should have been with us, and so that's where he is."
And your older kids, David and Emily, how did they cope? One of them wrote a really nice poem or story, didn't
they? They both did. David, again, being a boy, dealt with it very differently. He was very quiet and didn't really... Emily was very vocal, and she was very upset and would tell me often how she felt, which was really good in a way because it helped her to get over it. They both wrote... David wrote a poem and Emily wrote a letter, and they both put them into the baby's coffin. And then they kept versions as well because they wanted to keep them, and Emily decided that she wanted to read hers at the funeral. And I wasn't sure I wanted her to do that because I didn't know, you know, if it was a good thing for her or not. And I was assured by the vicar and everybody else, you know, you must let her grieve, you must let her. And she did, and she stood up in front of everybody. And it was really difficult for her, and she, you know, and she did that for her little brother.
Yeah, she'll always remember she did that too, which is nice.
Yeah, she was so excited about him, you know, and it was really...
But now she has Polly.
And now she has
And
Polly.
on a happy note, to remind people of how you kind of, I suppose, came to people's attention, which was in Hearsay eventually, originally Popstars. Let's have a quick look at you now. In your prime.
Okay.
In Hearsay. Do you miss those days at all?
Do you know what? We had such a great time. We had some really, you know, major ups and downs, but we had such a great time. I mean, we were just... It was the first one of its kind, the first show of its kind, and so we were the first ever reality TV show band, and, you know, we did massive arena tours, and we played here at the Point, and, you know, it was... We had the most amazing time.
So when are you and Keith coming back off your cruise? I.e., when are you going to go back to Corrie?
We start back at the beginning of September. It should have been later in September, but we're actually going back a little bit early. So we're looking for... It's going to be really difficult, actually, leaving Polly, because I've had a really nice time with her, you know. But, yeah, I have to go back to work and, you know...
Yeah, people will miss you from Coronation Street. Keith needs you back there anyway.
Yeah, he does, Keith. I miss you, Keith.
Yeah, well, you'll be back there soon. And listen, thank you for coming with your mother to Dublin, and the best of luck with your new book. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very happy.